Our first person that we're going to go and have a chat to today is a very good friend of mine. She is the founder of the first palm oil free certified baby formula brand in the world. It's a company called Little Oak. The founder is a friend of mine, Elke Pascoe. Elke, welcome to the CR Live show. Thanks for joining us here this morning.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Thank you. It's great to be here.
It is big international field, Melbourne to Sydney. It's gone crazy. I want to know a little bit more about Little Oak and how you came up with the idea. I mean, your background historically has been in the big corporate space. You've been in healthcare, pharmaceutical. You're a comms expert, a very renowned one at that. How did you then get into a baby formula company?
Well, I think it goes back nearly, longer than I can appreciate, even, back to my daughter's age, who's, she's 7, 8 now at the moment. And I remember being in school and watching a nurse had come back from Africa with footage of hungry children and unwell children. And it was that point, I think, when the seed was initially sown, because I thought, right, I'm going to do something to help these children. And I think in my head at that time, that meant becoming a doctor. Fast forward on, a good, few decades, and the medical degree didn't come, but that aspiration to help children still sort of lived inside of me. And I think going into healthcare and pharmaceuticals was probably the closest, at that point that I could get. And after, after a good number of years in that space, I kind of got to a point where I thought, right, really, is this really all that satisfying? Can I jump out of bed every day and feel excited about what I was doing? So I really, sort of questioned about 4 years ago. I thought, right, it's time to do something that's going to get you really excited and what you're passionate about. And there was a sort of a trip with my son who had a terrible skin condition. And cut a long story short, I kind of really started thinking about how I could get back into helping children. Yeah. And it was one of those points where I think I have 2 children. I breastfed them, I gave them infant formula, but at the time I really didn't understand what was going into them. Somebody just told me, give this to your child and it will be fine. But at that point in time, I remember sitting there and looking at infant formula on the shelves one day and thought, oh my goodness, look at these ingredients. Who knew that this is the stuff that goes into these formulas? So I spent probably the better part of, nearly 2 years as just sort of really investigating the industry and how it was made and who was doing what. And I got to the point where even if I made no money from this at all, I really felt like I had to, I had a responsibility to try and do something better, not just for mums, but more importantly for these children that, I'm so passionate about helping.
And apart from being the first certified palm oil free organic, and there's a lot of words thrown in there, but company in the world, what makes you different? What was the real purpose that you set out to be different and separate yourselves?
Well, I think the big thing is really waking up every morning with that passion about truly helping children. When I started this business, it was really about putting the margins and the money aside and really creating something that was, if mums couldn't breastfeed, what was the next best thing they could give their child that they could feel confident about? So when I sort of decided that, this was something I was going to have to do, I sat down with some of the best healthcare experts that I've worked with in my past and said, what goes into this product and what doesn't? I don't even want to think about money. Just tell me what it looks like. And we got that sort of, literally a recipe, not a recipe, but a formulation on a white piece of paper. And then we found, our R&D manager who then made our sort of, realize that dream. But really, what drives us and the decisions that we make every day is what's best for the child. So, for us, every ingredient that goes into our formula comes down, we really assess it for, it doesn't need to be in there. Is that in breast milk? And if it's going to be in there, where's the most natural source we can find it from? Money, don't think money. And that's how we started with, there's going to be absolutely no palm oil in our, in our formula. I mean, obviously the reason for that is twofold. We obviously have the environmental impact of palm oil, but more importantly, palm oil actually impacts the absorption of calcium, DHA, and fats in babies. Yeah. So for us, it was a no-brainer. There was just no palm oil, no derivatives, nothing. So we're really proud to be the first infant formula in the world to be certified 100% palm oil free, for all the babies around the world. And that then went on to become, the first in the world to use flaxseed oil instead of canola, using whole goat milk as a base because it's more closely aligned to human breast milk than cow milk. and really making sure that DHA, our algal, from algal sources. So, we really don't cut any corners in terms of how we put our formulation together.
I remember talking to you as you were going through that process. That was an incredible part of the journey that took quite a lot of time. My family and I, we're shameless, massive supporters of Little Oak. My little daughter, my 18-month-old, actually is one of your big poster child. And there she is, a shameless plug for my little girl, Nixon. She'll be embarrassed on her 18th when we pull this out. But I mean, we're in a crazy world now. COVID-19 flipped everything. What was the impact that had on Little Oak, Elke? How did that impact you guys?
Well, I mean, probably like every business owner at this point in our life cycle, you think, oh my goodness, it just, what are we going to do, and how are we going to overcome this and make sure we can survive it? We were very quick to make sure, to get a workshop and make sure we had a plan in place. I mean, we're fortunate because our formula, we are a formula, we're essential product for many families. And, we very quickly, I suppose, pivoted to offer parents, free home delivery, so they didn't have to go to the store to buy it. Yeah. We made sure we could get new, formats in place that were, a little bit cheaper. Just really respond quickly to what parents wanted and needed at that point in time. And, I suppose in many ways we've been able to kind of see ourselves grow a little bit. We kept pushing really hard with the retailers. The very fact that we are here for Australian mums, and New Zealand mums and dads. I hope we really do see that. We really do see that support from our local consumers, because really at this, even in a time of crisis, there truly is a flight to quality. So we're certainly seeing that, and we're also seeing, that sort of greater support, or certainly an appetite to support locally made and locally, born companies and products.
And I think, look, Australia, there's no doubt at all, is there? I mean, Australian consumers love supporting independent, homegrown Aussie brands, which, I mean, you're an Australian, New Zealand business. You fit exactly into that category. And I mean, this market is huge. And this side of the world, it's a really big thing for us. If we look then at the duopoly, as they're called, the Coles, the Woolies, the big monsters in our world of grocery, the supermarket business, how do they need to step the game up, Elke, to really get Australian homegrown brands onto our shelves? Why aren't they doing this quicker and better? What's going wrong here?
Well, I think it's important to say that, our little brand has been really well supported by the independents. So that, the Richie's IGAs, which I know, which is where you buy your Little Oak from. Thank you so much for that. We've got the Drakes down in South Australia and Queensland, the Foodlands. They've been really supportive of our brand, and a number of the pharmacies and Costco. We can't thank all our partners enough. The big two, obviously, as every new startup brand faces, are a challenge. We see now a number of our consumers coming in. The feedback we get is, why are you not in Coles and Woolworths? And we're certainly trying our hardest to make sure that we can cut through the whole Coles and Woolworths barriers. And in many ways, we hope that they'll certainly consider the range reviews. They'll consider us on the next round. And I really think it's important that they do so, because you've got a brand in Australia and New Zealand that are really here just for Australian and New Zealand consumers, and that really should be something that they consider, because it's here that they should be supporting local businesses more than ever before. So I think, I would like to think that as every business, through this COVID piece, it's, reimagining the way they do business, that perhaps, even the big two will sit up and sort of take a real kind of a good look at how they can genuinely support local businesses here in Australia.
And this has been a topic. I was on ABC just a couple of days ago talking about supporting Australian manufacturing and business, and there's never been a more critical time. Elke, thank you so much. Keep us in touch with how you go with Coles and Woolies. All the best luck to you, and we'll be chatting soon. Thank you for being on today.
Thanks, Chris.